think I'll be ready.
Oh.
I think it'll be just fine.
What's up, Bengals fans? This is Mike here. This is Who Daily, the show where you can get daily news, updates, and recaps for the day. Today is March 8th, Monday. Going through some big news. You can see the topics here that we're going to go through. There was a Duke Tobin interview we're going to talk about. There were some of those big cap cuts that are coming up. You saw some players get released today. We'll talk about a few of those and some possible fits, and maybe a jersey leak. This thing might already be a relic. Well, we already know it's going to be because they're having new jerseys. But this is only the third or fourth time I've worn this Joe Burrow jersey. But I'm going to get the opportunity, and so will you, to buy some new ones. So let's jump into the show. Duke Tobin, he was just answered questions from the media. It was pretty interesting. Duke is essentially GM. If you didn't know, they don't really have a GM, but he's the closest thing they have. Duke Tobin says that basically in his interview, there's some rundowns. He says that different evaluations for players with they're going through different evaluations with players with only 1 year of tape. So this is interesting because we all knew, with COVID and everything going on, the player evaluations were going to be difficult, and that's actually made it a lot more difficult for fans to understand what teams' draft strategies may or may not be. Duke gave us a little bit of an insight, and it's something I actually agree with, saying you have to be careful with players that only have 1 year of tape. There are some players that are coming out in the draft that have less than even a year of tape. It's a partial year of tape because they either got injured or for some reason only played 7 or 8 games and then weren't sat out and then opted out for the COVID reasons this past season. So what is interesting about that is sitting there at number 5, there are several players. In fact, most of them that the Bengals probably are targeting didn't play this past year, right? Penei Sewell obviously comes up, and so does Jamar Chase. So those are kind of the if you follow the Bengals social media, people are all over those two guys for obvious reasons. Penei Sewell is regarded as the number 1 tackle prospect. Jamar Chase, 1 or 2 or 3, depending on who you talk to at the wide receiver room. But he also played with Joe Burrow, big time advantage there. The Bengals can tap their internal knowledge, right? The issue is, though, there's only 1 year tape for both of these players, right? How does that affect? We don't know how that affects what the Bengals are going to do from the perspective of evaluating these prospects. I mean, the tape that is out for these guys, it's not a lot, but it is crazy impressive. You've got Penei Sewell, both of them at 18, just dominating. That's what you got on tape. So I don't know if that's going to be enough, but we'll see. He also mentioned the idea of not trading draft picks for players. So that's something that's really interesting, a little insight into how the organization thinks about managing their resources. They clearly value being able to pick a young player on a rookie contract over trading that draft capital for a veteran player to come in and help with their team. I think they see it as giving a potential young star to another team, and we've all heard the Mike Brown comment of, "We're not in the business of making other teams better." You know, that's a little bit iffy as far as if you agree with that or not, or how you see trades and the value of making those moves. But it really does jive with kind of the insight that we have on how this organization thinks about managing resources. So they're probably you're not gonna see them trading their draft capital for players already in the league. That does not mean, however, that they won't trade back. We've already we've seen them trade back before. Specifically, they traded back and picked Drew Sample. Probably not the best move in hindsight, because you could have stayed right there and chosen DK Metcalf, for example. But they didn't. They moved back and took Drew Sample. This could be the year to do it, especially considering what we talked about just at the beginning. These player evals are going to be difficult to do. You don't know what drafting Penei Sewell does not mean you're going to get a plug-and-play starter necessarily. This is a guy that hasn't played football in over a year. He's a super freak athletic. He's big, strong. He's, from all accounts, smart, knows what he's doing. There's a big difference from blocking Pac-12 edge rushers and the guys you're going to see in the AFC North and in the NFL in general. It's a big, big jump. He did dominate in the Pac-12 as far as blocking those edge rushers. But he, again, there's a difference between, if you could name me more than 2 edge rushers out of the Pac-12 over the last 5 years, good job. But, we'll see how that goes. He kind of mentioned Geno. So there's kind of Geno Atkins news a little bit. They mentioned that they're still in a wait and see process with Geno Atkins to see. I think what he means by that is whether he's going to be offer enough value to stay on the roster and play, or if he's going to return more value in a trade. I don't know what you can get out of Geno Atkins for a trade. I mean, who's out there needs the defensive line help that has that would do a trade, and I would assume the Bengals draft capital in return. But man, what are you getting out of him? Like, you got a 7th rounder out of Carlos Dunlap, and he was actually on the field, actually playing and producing. So we saw this this cap hit, or we kind of predicted this was going to happen, right? The news around the NFL was this week's going to be a huge week for cuts. Teams are going to start to try to get under the salary cap and cutting veteran players in order to do that. That's a good thing for the Bengals because the Bengals have they're high on the list of for the transaction wire, meaning they're going to get an earlier look at some of these players than other teams will. When you talk about cutting players to be unrestricted free agents, the Bengals, Duke Tobin actually talked about in his interview being able to turn around quickly whenever they see a player hit the market that they want. So what's really encouraging is they're keeping track of this stuff. These are the types of cuts you're going to be looking for. So he graded out at 72.6 last year per PFF, and that puts him above every other Bengals offensive lineman. Jonah Williams, I think, graded right around 71 for the season, right? So you bring him in, he's automatically your best lineman. Now he doesn't have the career longevity upside of some of the other guys, but he could come in, plug and play type dude that can fix up, shore up some holes. At the very least, it would be insurance policies, and that's what I think the Bengals are going to do in free agency. They're going to look to fill depth, and when you fill depth, that's creating insurance in case you're not able to pick that stud plug and play tackle in the draft or wide receiver in the draft or edge rusher in the draft, right? You've got the depth to make up for that. And I think those are the kinds of things you're going to see. Now, they've been talking a lot about, and Duke kind of beat around the bush when he was asked about the guard play and if they would spend money on guards in free agency. Towing the company line, I think, of pretty obviously saying, we want to sign players that help the team. Well, obviously, Duke, so we'll see because, everyone knows that's hinting at, we're hinting at Joe Thuney there, right? Joe Thuney would be a pretty big get, but he's going to get paid. Here's the thing. He's going to end up getting paid more, I think, than the Bengals weren't comfortable paying Kevin Zeitler back in the day when they let him walk. We could see a change in direction a little bit, understanding that in today's NFL, you have to be able to block these big, powerful, quick, 3-gap, pass rushers right in the middle of the defense. And if you don't, if you can have the 2 best tackles in the world, if you can't block those guys up front and right in the middle, those are the guys with the shortest line to the quarterback. They can get there the fastest. So I think, the last offseason was to fix the defense. I think this one is going to be fixing that offensive line. I just wanted to remind everyone here that, PFF tweeted out this graphic, the salary cap, who's going to make the biggest splash in free agency. And you can see there, I quote tweeted it as the media typically will tell you that the team that makes the biggest splash, is the team that signs the kind of biggest name free agents, right? But I'm sorry, Arizona signing J.J. Watt isn't a big splash to me. It's an edge rusher on the wrong side of 30. Clearly, his game isn't what it was. He's still a very good player, still can be dominant. But what does that do to move Arizona closer to winning a championship? I don't know. I don't think it does as much as other teams. A team that made a big splash for me in free agency last year was the Buffalo Bills. What they did is they went out in free agency. They didn't sign like the huge names in free agency. What they did was they went and signed a bunch of offensive linemen, just who they could get, anybody they could get their hands on, essentially, it seemed like. And then they had a huge competition, and they found the 5 best ones out of that competition. That's actually why the Bengals ended up getting Quentin Spain. Quentin Spain was in that competition, ended up getting cut out of that, but he came in and played admirably for the Bengals. Next thing, let's talk about these jerseys, man. Okay, so here's the thing. There was a tweet that came out, I think out of the UK, where it was just these jerseys hanging on. They didn't look great. They were hanging on hangers, kind of big, droopy looking, goofy things. But found this on one of our guys on Twitter, the Uni Mockups Twitter handle, took those design concepts and made them more kind of look more like a normal NFL jersey. And here's what we got. And you know what? If these are it, first of all, I'll say this: be cautious about whether these are official or not, because there are lots of little things in the jersey design that make it seem like they may not be official. And what I mean by that is if you look at the crest of the neck right here, this is actually an addition that Uni Mockups made to it. On the original version, it didn't have the official Nike. There's an official Nike kind of crest plate right here that Nike intentionally puts on jerseys to make it difficult to duplicate, right? Well, these jerseys did not have those, but the tags on the jerseys said that they were official on-field jerseys. If they were official on-field jerseys, they would have had those crests. Like if they were made by Nike and were official on-field jerseys, they would have those official crests. But they were more like the one that they tweeted out was more like the one that I have on. You see there where the official crest, that there's not this shiny rubber part here, right? So this isn't an official on-field jersey. Like when I bought this, it's an apparel jersey. So it's not something that is claiming to be on field and clearly isn't, like like what we saw there. Should maybe just be a tagging issue or something. But what I think is most interesting is, if these are the jerseys, I don't hate them. I actually like these. I think not only that, I think we don't know what this is going to look like on pants. With the pants, they're probably going to change the pants to be more simplified, like the jersey is. They're definitely not touching the helmet. They will probably never touch the helmet, and that's fine with me, unless the NFL starts to allow them teams to have alternative helmets. The Bengals will have that striped helmet for probably forever. But these jerseys are cool, man. I really like these. I think that they're they have really nice design aesthetic that keeps the modern kind of minimalist feel to it, but also throws back to some of the older teams with more simplified jerseys. We've got rid of those side panels. Just looking pretty clean. The numbers, I'd have to see more numbers than just the 9. I don't know how I feel about this font right now, but we'll see. I mean, it looks like these could be it, but also there are reasons I think that they may be a fake. One other thing I wanted to talk about, though. Look, so the Bengals hired some new social media team members, people whose job it is for community outreach, building the community, the fan engagement type positions, all kinds of stuff. I think it's smart, by the way. I work in marketing. I'm a marketing consultant, and I think that's a really smart strategy. But I also think you need to take that stuff with a grain of salt, because if it's not coming directly as an official release from the team, you can't really trust it. Although this gives us plenty of stuff to talk about. I'd love to see more iterations of the jerseys, kind of like this. Like what would the color rush look like? What would are there any throwbacks? Those are the kind of things we'll have to wait and see. Also, what are the pants going to look like? They're not going to go out there Pooh Bearing it, run around without pants on. So what are we going to look like as a holistic uniform? Some of the mock-ups have looked very cool, but we'll have to see how it goes. But that's it for today, Monday, March 8th. Who Daily. We'll see you here tomorrow for another show. Take it easy, Bengals fans.